I'm here on this, alright, I was going to say lovely, but alright, Sunday morning here in Wales, in the UK. Let me adjust this, there we go. To finally admit something that I never thought I'd admit in public, let alone on camera, let alone publish on YouTube for the world to see. But I've been watching a few videos on YouTube this week, and I thought it's about time to do it, so here goes. I love Star Trek. There, I've said it, I admit it, I admit it, with, well, this is the point, a huge caveat. I love, and I've always loved since I was a little boy, the real Star Trek, actual Star Trek. Not, and that's what this is about, if you haven't, not the pretender to the throne, not the Abrams Kurtzman slap in the face, travesty, dumping your, well, I was thinking about certain Brazilian sort of websites there, but anyway, just shocker that is modern Star Trek, the new Trek I'll call it, the, pardon my French, the shite Trek, the non-Trek, because it isn't Star Trek. It's not Star Trek, just because, well, they've used the name, of course, because it's you know, it's branding, it's a well-established, well-respected brand, Star Trek, you know, because it used to be good. It used to mean something. It used to stand for something. There was a you know, there was a basic point to Star Trek. And the reason I love Star Trek, and still do, as I say, since being a little lad over here in the UK, was because Star Trek was, the message from Star Trek was universal. It didn't have to be a little lad in America or a little girl in America. You know, it didn't matter what country you lived in, what language you spoke, what sex you were. It was Star Trek for sci-fi, although I think it transcends sci-fi actually as a genre, or used to. Meant something to everybody, gave everybody, like me here, all the millions that watched it, a bit of hope that no matter what your situation was, no matter what you were going through, your family was going through, there was hope. There was some hope for humanity. Now, I've heard people call it a utopian a sort of view of the future, you know. I know, yeah, it was in many ways, you know. The whole point was, you know, that poverty was supposed to be eradicated through technology and through the sort of maturing of the human race, the human condition, as it were. Money wasn't important, so therefore striving for money and wealth wasn't. So you get a bit of glare on glasses. Wasn't the driving factor in people's lives anymore. You know, it was community. It was your community, the world community. National borders didn't come into it anymore. It was a better future, a view of a better future. Now, you didn't get that in sci-fi because, of course, if you think about it, when I was a little lad watching this stuff, you know, that was back in the early 80s. So, of course, I'd seen Star Wars at the cinema and stuff with my dad and that, my brother. We used to collect little figures, but Star Wars was, you know, arguably a bigger phenomena at the time in sci-fi. But Star Wars was a completely different thing. It's a completely different vision in science fiction. Totally different, really, essentially. Horses for courses, Star Wars, Star Trek are not the same thing. And I think this is, for me, I know for a lot of other people, this is where this new generation of Hollywood creatives that have taken over the Star Trek and Star Wars brands, you know, Mr. Jar Jar as as Gary from the Nerd. You have to go watch the Nerdrotic channel. Fantastic. Don't speak about Gary Bigler and the channel Heel versus Babyface. I can't remember the guy's name. I love him. Another guy from the UK like me, a bit like me. Reminds me of me, with very sort of you know, naturally muscular fellas. Anyway, Englishman. Anyway, go and seek them out. Great channels, but they talk about this at length. And other sci-fi things, but they're much more sort of down the rabbit hole than I am with sci-fi and that. But it just I've been watching and I've been watching. I think the main catalyst is I've actually had enough money to subscribe to Amazon Prime over the last few months, so I've been watching this Star Trek Picard series. So I'm about 6, 7, 8 months behind really. Everybody else has seen it. And I'm up to episode 7. Jesus Christ. I can't take it. I can't take it. What is the ultimate point in it? Because it certainly isn't entertainment that I've couldn't recognise. I'm again watching Neurotic with Gary and Heel versus Babyface, the Critical Drinker, another fantastic channel. There's so many. Nothing to do with entertainment, nothing to do with Star Trek at all. Absolutely nothing. From what I've now watching that, I've been put off going back and watching, or even attempting to watch Star Trek Discovery, because I've heard that's even worse. The same problems that exist in Star Trek Picard, much of them, are apparently reproduced in Star Trek STD. Let's not go there. Bit of a Freudian anagram. Anyway, from the makers. Anyway, apparently amplified there, even more. So I can't bear Picard as it is. That feels like torture trying to watch that. And I'm watching it because it's so bloody awful, to be honest. It's so awful. I'm still in disbelief. And I'm only watching it really to see how much worse it can get. But again, nothing to do with Star Trek. Now, see, I'm one of these people. When the Abrams Star Treks came out, and people around me, family members, were saying how much they enjoyed the first film or that when it first came out, and in the sort of that series. And it's one of how I must go and see it. Knowing that I've been a Star Trek fan, I loved Star Trek as a kid. Original series TNG. Wasn't a massive DS9 and Voyager fan at the time, but I was getting older then. I think I was sort of getting out of my sort of as we do get older, getting out of my sort of imaginative phase and being a bit of a grumpy old sod really. But anyway, but now looking back, compared to what we've got, I'd rather watch Enterprise, to be honest. Again, which wasn't really thought very high levels at the time, than any of this stuff. But anyway, I watched the first Abrams film, or tried to, and I remember at the time I watched it on DVD when it came out because my sister bought it because she liked it, and I watched the first 45 minutes, and I turned it off. I couldn't watch any more, and I didn't know what it was that I didn't like. I just did not like, and I realise now, because now we're many years down the line with that sort of method of Abrams Star Trek, I suppose, Abrams Trek. And it was because it had nothing to do with Trek for me. Star Trek. It had the sort of heart of Star Trek wasn't there. What this all is. DS9, Picard, the Star. I didn't bother watching the other ones because apparently they get even worse. Apparently, yeah, I can't watch the Cumberbatch as Khan. I'm sorry. I've seen photos. I just can't bet. I can't even bring myself to do it. I talk about sort of shit on someone's corpse. Anyway, pardon my French. Mr. Roddenberry, I'm so sorry. Gene Roddenberry must be. Anyway, I haven't got that. It's not Trek. It's what it is it's Star Wars. It's generic. It's not that does the service of Star Wars. It's the generic view of sci-fi and Star Wars by people who never actually watched or liked or understood Star Wars even, thinking Star Trek, and I suppose all sci-fi in space, is just some version of, watered down version of Star Wars. And that's what modern Trek is. It's a watered down, confused, very bad rip-off of Star Wars, basically. For me, I don't know what you think, but that's certainly what I get the feeling. And I think Gary on again on the Robotic and critical drinker, all these other channels, they've said it perfectly. It's Trek made by people who don't know Trek, don't like Trek, I don't think like sci-fi, don't understand it, and certainly have a almost visceral hatred for the actual fans, the actual people who do and have always loved Star Trek, understand it, get it. But again, with Star Wars, look what they did to Star Wars. It's just virtually the same people. They've done it to Star Wars, they've done it to Star Trek. I find, personally, for me, being a big Trek fan all my life, because it really meant something to me. I think that's the point for a lot of people. I grew up in well, I won't go into it, but I grew up in a very sort of difficult circumstances in a poor family. My dad was out of work all of my life, virtually. We lived in, well, not nice places, let's put it that way. So for me as a kid, school was a bleeding nightmare because of all of that and lots of other stuff, schizophrenic father in the end. Right. So things like Trek to me, like Superman to me as a little kid, the original Superman, the Christopher Reeve Superman, to me in my imagination as a kid, a teenager, was escape. It was escape from all the realities, the horrible realities, to be honest, at that time. And as an adult, I'm growing up. I still live in a poor area where people are poor. I'm still on the breadline economically. By the way, so if you're watching this isn't a MAGA. It is a MAGA hat, but it's one I sort of appropriated myself. I've crossed that American and put in real. If you're in the US or not in the UK, you're not going to know what real means. But real is a place in Wales, a very beloved holiday destination in the UK, which is now a very poor place, deprived place. Anyway, so I'm still in the same situation. So this stuff's, and then with all that's going on now with COVID, I'm into my 8 month of self-isolation here. Things like this are more important than ever, for people. It's escape from reality. Why do I want to see dystopian, depressing, boring? I mean, that's probably the worst kind. It's just boring. Modern Kurtzman, Picard, STD, Trek. It's boring, and I'll don't be funny. None of it makes any sense. I'm watching each episode, and there's no logical through line with any of it. None of it makes any sense. Again, Gary and the others in the critical drinker and sorry, I can't remember the guy I like from Heel versus Big Face. They go into this in depth, but more depth than I'm going to. But it's none of it makes any sense. No episodes make. I'm watching, and it's making less sense each episode. It's just bad. It's boring. It's so boring. Which must be the ultimate crime, really. If you're paid a fortune as a Hollywood, producer, chief exec, bigwig, or BBC bigwig, we could go to BBC, couldn't we? And they're sort of handling their stuff. To be honest, I won't go there. This will be 4 times longer. But anyway, and your job is to be creative and to make, spend millions and millions and millions making entertainment for the masses, for the world, and then you're given something with a legacy, because it's legacy sci-fi, it's legacy television, it's legacy movies, movie franchise, Star Trek, and you do this bad a job with it. It's literally I couldn't get. I mean, I'm not a massive Game of Thrones fan. I've not even really seen it, to be honest. I've gone, I've seen a few reactions, and I think I watched the first episode out of interest, but I'm not a big fantasy guy, you see, so that's not really my sort of thing. Um, but I know lots of people that are, and of course I know about their anger, and I can see exactly why frustrations. How that all finished, the TV series. Again, because it looks like the showrunners, is it the two Davids or whatever? Just it was like, well, in their minds, well before it was actually finished. So that's move on to other things. I've got a bigger fish to fry. More money to make. Um, any old shit will do. Don't care. Don't care about the thing. Don't care about the story. Don't care about the fans. Don't care about the characters. Don't care about it. This is the problem. And ironically, this is what Star Trek's all about, isn't it? Is Star Trek's all about, or should be all about, and is supposed to be all about, not having to spend your time and life and efforts in the pursuit of making money, you know, so that everyone does get the chance to pursue the things they love, spend time on the things they love, do the things they love in a meaningful way. How ironic that the people that make Trek and Star Wars and other things, but particularly Trek, now couldn't care less. All they care about is their status and the money and the power. The opposite, the exact polar opposite of the point of Trek. Anyway, end of rant. Yeah, if you like me, love and I've always loved the real Trek, the original Trek, grew up with it. Star Wars, and you're just as frustrated as me about it when you sort of delve back into it these days and sort of see what's going on. I really recommend going to watch, go and search out, Nerdrotic, Gary Beagle's channel on YouTube, Heel versus Babyface, The Critical Drinker. There are many others, so I've got a terrible memory. There's loads more, but I'm sure you'll sort of find the connections between the different channels. But anyway, I thought it was a bit of a different topic today, so bit of a rant over, and take care. See you next time. Bye from me. Bye from Jay. And yeah, ciao for now. Make roll great again.